My final thoughts before the Bills face the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football, an injury update with banged up Bills, and all my predictions for the game are coming your way today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Well, folks, welcome in. This will be the last conversation that we have before the Bills face the Dolphins. Thursday Night Football, Week 2, big divisional game. Let's close out these pregame conversations by examining my final thoughts. We'll talk to Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills. We'll get into, of course, Josh Allen's hand, Taron Johnson situation, as well as Devon Achane, the running back for the Dolphins. And then my 5 predictions for Thursday night coming your way to close out this episode. One newsy item that I want to mention is Bills defensive end Greg Rousseau was named AFC Defensive Player of the Week for his performance against the Arizona Cardinals. It's the second time in his career that he's earned those honors, and you probably remember the game well. It just happened. 3 sacks, 6 tackles, a strip sack, a game-changing strip sack. Groot was absolutely deserving of those honors. Josh Allen was also deserving of Conference Player of the Week honors, but it was given to Texans running back Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon in the Texans win over the Colts had 33 touches, 178 yards, and a touchdown. I obviously think that Josh Allen was more deserving than Joe Mixon. In fact, Josh Allen's performance against Arizona was just the 6th time in the history of the NFL where a player had a game with at least 230 passing yards while completing at least 78% of their passes, while scoring at least 2 touchdowns on the ground and throwing 2 touchdowns. But I think the NFL prefers to not have both conference players of the week, offense and defense, going to the same team, and maybe they wanted to give it to Greg Rousseau. I don't know. But Mr. Josh Allen, snubbed, in my opinion. All right, to close out final thoughts here, I want to get into some things that are not necessarily true about this coming game, but this Bills-Dolphins rivalry of late, a rivalry that the Bills have dominated. The Bills have won the last 4. They've won 13 of the last 15. Josh Allen has been unbelievable against Miami, an 11-2 mark in starts against the Dolphins. In those 13 games, Josh Allen has 41 touchdowns, just 13 turnovers, career passer rating of 108.7. Josh Allen has thrown at least 2 touchdowns against Miami in all 13 games. That's the longest streak by a quarterback against a single opponent in the history of the NFL. And the Bills should have a lot of confidence because of those things. They've had Miami's number. Josh Allen's played great against the Dolphins. But I want to kind of examine this from the other side of the coin. That's all great, right? Like, we love that. We love that we've had so much success against the Miami Dolphins. But think about it from the other side of the coin. Now, Mike McDaniel's been the head coach. This is his 3rd season. He's not responsible for all of that. But the last 2 years, the Bills have significantly ruined the Dolphins' season. Go back 2 years ago, Mike McDaniel's first season, the Bills ended the Dolphins' season in the playoffs. Last year, Miami held a 3-game lead with 5 to play It evaporated quickly. Week 18 in Miami comes down to Bills versus Dolphins. Winner takes the division. And obviously the Bills won that game. And Dolphins had to go to Kansas City. We know how that went. It's obviously a really significant game for both teams. And I'm not sure either team's going to have to search hard for inspiration in this one. But the magnitude, right, feels heavier for Miami. Miami is coming off of, like I just mentioned, pretty much back-to-back seasons where it was ruined by the Bills. But also there's an even greater conversation about Miami and what they're trying to achieve. This is a team that currently boasts the longest playoff win drought in the entire league, 23 years since they've won a playoff game. They haven't won the division since 2008. These are big talking points in Miami all the time, all offseason long. Can you beat the Bills? Can you win the division? Can you end this playoff win drought? These are big conversations. Tua, Mike McDaniel asked all week about those circumstances. And again, I'm not bringing these things up to clown the Dolphins. Of course, I enjoy that the Bills have had the upper hand in a major way in this rivalry, especially of late. But this is a huge game for Miami, right? I mean, think about last season, week 18. All the things that they want, right? Win the division. Position yourself to win a playoff game because it's going to be at your place. This one's circled on the calendar for Mike McDaniel and company. And now there's even more interesting dynamics now that Miami has Jordan Poyer and Saron Neal. And Tua wasn't shy about saying how beneficial it was that Jordan Poyer is on the team and how he's given information not just about some of the communication and signaling and things that the Bills do defensively, but philosophically, Buffalo's approach to playing Miami. I mean, for at least, obviously for the last 7 years, but in particular, the last 2 when Mike McDaniel was the head coach, the Bills played the Dolphins 5 times. Jordan Poyer has been part of those game plan installs. He studied that team. He knows exactly what the Bills think of this Dolphins offense and the uniquely different things that Buffalo does against Miami compared to other opponents. Tua's already said that Jordan Poyer's given him that information. Now, in the moment, it's helpful, but right, you still got to play the game. It still comes down to execution. And the Bills know that the Dolphins know that. Sean McDermott said, look, he's like, Jordan Poyer's had the playbook for 7 years. So I'm interested to see if we can tangibly feel a difference this time around based on that intel. Now, to a lesser degree, the Bills have some help on their side of things, bringing in Mike White, who was the backup quarterback in Miami last year and was with the team right up until cut day, or close to it, right a couple days before they wind up letting him go, and the Bills signed him to the practice squad, and I'm sure that was beneficial to the Bills, not only to run the scout team offense this week, right, the QB3, which for the Bills is Mike White, their primary job is to run the scout team offense. Well, not a bad candidate to run the Dolphins scout team offense after he spent the last year and the last offseason on that team. But Mike White's been part of a couple of game plan installs against Buffalo, and that'll be helpful for the Bills. So, in addition, some of the things that Miami wanted to be offensively this year, right? There's always new wrinkles, especially in a scheme like that. He can provide some insight on that to Sean McDermott and the defense. So there's always storylines and dynamics about every game. But I don't think you could talk Bills Dolphins without getting into that stuff. And this is really my first time talking and discussing those things with you here on the podcast. So I wanted to make that part of our opening segment here on our final thoughts episode before Bills Dolphins on Thursday night. All right, folks, coming up on the other side of it, Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills. We're talking about Josh Allen's left hand, Taron Johnson's forearm, Devin Achan's ankle, and more. So be sure to stick with me. Folks, game days are very busy at my house. I have 2 kids, and things can be a little hectic. Well, thank God for DoorDash. DoorDash really is helpful for us. You know, we don't always have time to cook, but we can take a second, go on our phone, go to the DoorDash app, and get food delivered right to our front door from our favorite local and national restaurants. I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty obsessed with DoorDash because that convenience is simply unmatched in my busy life. I could just go on there and I can get an acai bowl, whatever I want. You know, I need something from the gas station. They'll bring it, some groceries, out of milk. Okay, DoorDash is on it. It's a super convenient thing, especially for my wife and I with our young family. So check it out. Let it help you. That's what I would say. Let it help you. We got a little deal for you here. Use our promo code LOCKEDFALL24 for 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. Limited time offer. Terms apply. Promo is not valid for orders containing alcohol. DoorDash, your door to game day greatness, your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to order your game day favorites. Must be 21 or older to order alcohol. Drink responsibly. Alcohol available only in select markets. No man wants to lose his hair, but for men, it's actually pretty common. And now with Hims, the solution is simple. Try Hims Hair Loss Solutions, and you'll be joining hundreds of thousands of subscribers who got their flow back. Hims provides access to a range of hair loss treatments at work, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted treatment options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. The process is simple. It's 100% online. All you do is fill out a few questions, and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you, and if prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to your door. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/LockedOnNFL. That's HIMS.com/LockedOnNFL for your personalized hair loss treatment options. HIMS.com/LockedOnNFL. Results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. I'm joined now by Kyle Trimble. He's a doctor of physical therapy. He runs bangedupbills.com. You can follow him on Twitter at bangedupbills. He joins us each week to get ready for the upcoming Bills game from an injury perspective. And it's a short week, a quick turnaround, Sunday to Thursday in Miami. A couple of players have already been ruled out for the Buffalo Bills. DeJuan Smoot, who missed last week, he's been ruled out. Taron Johnson's ruled out. We'll talk about him in just a moment. Javon Solomon, rookie edge rusher, doubtful. We don't expect him to play, but we have to start this conversation by talking about Josh Allen's left hand. Obviously, Sean McDermott came out earlier in the week and said that he's been cleared to practice. He's been cleared to play. That pretty much ended the conversation right there. But what that doesn't mean is that there's nothing wrong with his left hand. Dr. Kyle Trimble, fill us in on what you have to say about this left hand for Josh Allen.
So quickly recap, he injured his left hand when he leaped over Budda Baker to secure the eventual game-winning touchdown. He landed with his left hand onto the ground, and then his right elbow crashed into the hand. On closer evaluation, his elbow landed in between the middle finger and the ring finger, that web space area. And then he got taped up on the sidelines pretty heavily to finish the game. And then we saw in practice during the week that his ring finger and middle finger were taped up with a glove on it. You know, they said that he was able to practice in full all week and he has no limitations. However, we know at minimum there's a contusion. There's likely a sprain in there somewhere. Usually when we see that buddy taping of the fingers, we see some type of sprain. You can't rule out the possibility of fracture, though the team's usually not going to tell us that stuff. The biggest thing that we're going to see with him is gripping the ball for handoffs. We're likely going to see less designed quarterback runs because he's not going to be able to protect his hand as well. And he's going to be doing most of his work in the right hand, whether it's throwing or if he does have to run it all. So while there was never really ever doubt that he was not going to play, I do question how well he's going to be able to do some of those transitory movements, such as the handoffs. So he's still going to bring his A game, and I'm just curious to see what he's going to look like on Thursday night because he's questioning whether he's going to wear the glove or not.
I think throwing the ball, he should be fine. I mean, maybe it's a little bit different with that glove on or whatever discomfort he has in his hands, but Josh Allen's game has a lot more than just throwing the ball. Obviously, as a runner, he likes to use that offhand as a runner to stiff arm and navigate through certain types of runs. He's very good with ball handling and the sleight of hand and different things like that in terms of play fakes and execution. And so I'm guessing those things would become more difficult. We saw after the injury him come back in and hand off the ball, and you can obviously see in that immediate moment, I'm sure there's a lot of swelling and pain that he was dealing with. You saw he had to hand off the ball a little bit differently. I think that's kind of where my concerns come from, him having to play through this, and it sounds like you're aligned with that.
Exactly. And I did see that Connor McGovern had been asked about handoffs, and they said that they had to work out some things. They didn't really elaborate what they talked about, like how they adjusted the handoff, but they said everything's good to go, and they have a system how to get him handing off under center, and then if he does have to take shotgun snaps or whatever the game plan is. But they've problem solved through this thing so that he can at least get through this game and then have the mini bye to rest the hand up.
I don't know what's going on with these Bills defensive players, especially the superstars, but come on now. Taron Johnson, forearm injury, he's out. We don't know for how long, but it's like one after the other, man, especially in a game like this where you feel like you would like to have a Matt Milano and a Taron Johnson against the Miami Dolphins, but no Taron Johnson, forearm injury. He's ruled out. What can you tell us about this one?
I looked at this injury originally, and I thought maybe that he had suffered some type of forearm strain because he kind of came up over I think it was Greg Dortch that he was trying to tackle and then kind of fell off. I thought maybe he was trying to grab at the jersey, and then just that throw off led to him straining his forearm somehow. And that was supported by the fact that he was trying to do grip strength, motioning at his ulna, which is the forearm bone, and just several other things, including bracing before they took him back to the locker room. And then our good buddy Bruce Nolan had sent me some other alternative angles, including the L22 angle and then more of a bird's eye view. And you can see a better view of where Taylor Rapp had a hit into Dortch and it made a direct contact with the forearm. So then you're thinking more, at least there's a lot of soft tissue damage in there, possible fracture, just a lot of discomfort in there that would prevent him from really using that forearm with it swelling up and whatnot. So the team was pretty quick to rule him out right away on Monday when they had the press conference. And they've been talking about whether they need to put him on injury reserve or not. Maybe they're waiting to see what they want to do, whether they need to bring somebody else up. And then if there's any other testing, such as if there's nerve damage somewhere in there, or if the body's going to respond in a way that's going to allow him to maybe only miss one game and have the mini bye to recover. So this is something I don't have a ton of information on. Common sense says that you set him out and maybe see how he responds before the next game. But I don't like the fact-finding stuff that they'd used. We'll see what happens with that. But roster transactions should tell us a little bit more about what the game plan is moving forward and establish a timeline.
If the worst case scenario here would be a fracture, I'm guessing. And if that's the case, what type of timeline are we looking at?
I've looked into this as well. They're a wide variety. I've seen guys miss as low as 2 weeks. I've seen guys miss, 3 months. It just really depends on where you fracture, how bad the fracture is, if surgery is indicated or not. It's really wide across the board. And of course, which bone in there too, is it the ulna or is it the radius? Because even though maybe the hit was to the ulna, the radius could have been damaged somehow. So just depending on the damage in there really dictates the timeline.
From the Miami Dolphins side of things, Raheem Mostert, their starting running back that had 18 rushing touchdowns last year, he's out for the game. The other player of consequence is Devon Achane, their young running back who last week against Jacksonville, he became the third option for them in the passing game. They want to play him in the slot. So he's very much a multifaceted playmaker for this offense. And we know he's got electric speed and he's a big time playmaker for them, but he's been injured a lot, right? He's a smaller guy. And I think that's kind of the concern. Looks like he's got some type of ankle deal. He didn't practice Monday or Tuesday, limited on Wednesday. We're hearing that he's a game time decision on Thursday. What do you have on this one?
I don't have a great feel on this one, unfortunately. Part of that is just I have looked at the video and it's been inconclusive. Some fellow physical therapists in the injury analysis space, I thought maybe a high ankle sprain, even a mild one. If that was the case, I don't know that he tries playing, but looking at the film, it's not clear. Like it'd be a pretty mild one. Like the forefoot would have had to get caught in the turf and then, everted out for that to have that traditional high ankle sprain mechanism. I have yet to really look at the other angles and see whether there's a more definitive analysis that says that is. If it is a low ankle sprain, you could tape it up and play through it. This being early on in the season, I don't see why you would play him, but with the dynamic playability that he brings, maybe you do get him out there even in limited packages or snaps, and then bring up somebody like Jalen Wright and get Jeff Wilson in there as well too. So even if he does play, he's not going to be 100%. I just question how effective they'll be. But even a guy with like HN at 75% is still going to be better than maybe your Jalen Wright or somebody you come up from the practice squad.
Now, one thing about the Miami Dolphins, and I'm sure you've kind of picked up because I know you study the AFC East pretty in depth, they are one of the most cautious teams in the NFL in terms of bringing guys back. They will sit guys for reasons that you kind of don't expect. Guys take a while to come back in Miami, and maybe that's just because the nature of their roster and the injuries that they've had and some big catastrophic injuries. But correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels like a team that's been pretty cautious when it comes to playing guys that are hurt.
Correct. And their injury list is longer than the Buffalo Bills most weeks there. So I know they've been talked to by the league about their injury reporting, and it seems like they have guys linger on there forever and ever and ever. So you want to think that they're taking the cautious approach. Common sense says you don't play, especially on a short week, but we've seen guys like Teron Armstead not practice all last year and play in games, and guys get real limited work in and still play. And they had to handle HN pretty delicately at times because they'd go on IR last year and then still had injuries. So you want to look at the long-term nature of, do you want to keep him out for this game and then live to fight another day, or get him out there thinking you can, take down the Bills early and grab an early lead of the AFC East.
All right, there it is. Injury update with Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills. Bills got a nice little extended rest, if you will, between Thursday night and then Monday night in week 3 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We will catch up with you again before that contest. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we got a little something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All that you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all Sunday 9:15 pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting Thursday, September 12th. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, folks, welcome back. It's prediction time. Before we get there, I would love to extend an invitation to you to join the Locked On Bills subtext community. It's a great day to join because during all Bills games, I send out in-game texts. I let you know what I'm thinking, what I'm hoping to see. I have a lot of fun on there. I'm pretty candid with how I react to things and try to give you some good analysis, but also some of the emotional side of how I'm feeling as I'm watching the game. So tons of text throughout the game coming right to your phone. Be part of it. You also get throughout the week my first reaction to all major Bills news. There's no need to spend any time scrolling social media. I have you covered as the news happens. I'll tell you what it is, and you'll get my first reaction to it. And one of my favorite things, you get the all 22 film clips. So after the game, I go through, I break down the film, and I send, 30, 40 different plays that stand out to me. I will talk through the all 22 like voiceover clips. I send everybody a file so you can watch it. I think it was like 36 minutes worth of clips from the Cardinals game. And that's been really popular. So you get all of that plus access to the Discord channel. We've got like 1,100 Bills fans in there right now where we talk Bills, Sabres, life, fitness, nutrition, all kinds of stuff. There's video game channels, tons of Bills fans in there connecting. And we do a lot of exclusive things in the Discord channel. We have giveaways. I do exclusive content. I did a stream last week that was just for the Discord community. I have one coming up. We have some very creative ideas as well for different activities that we have going on in the Discord channel. And look, I don't really post that much on social media because I'm spending time with the people in the Discord channel, letting them know my thoughts. So come be part of all of that. The subtext community, there's a link in today's show notes to be part of all of that if you'd like to join. All right, folks, prediction time. Here we go. I got 5 of them for you. And I do try to tell a bit of a story with my predictions, although I do want to be right about my predictions. Kind of just really that last opportunity for me to give you an idea of the game script and how I'm feeling. Number 1 is I think Ed Oliver records a sack. Ed Oliver took some heat for the Cardinals game, right? People are after Ed Oliver a little bit. I'm not sure what that's about. Not necessarily a game that was tailored for him to be very productive when you have a quarterback like Kyler Murray that is twitchy and can get outside the pocket, and a run scheme that really attacked the edges of the defense. It wasn't a game that lent itself very well to Ed Oliver making a major impact. I would say this one's different. This Dolphins team, I think their guards are not starting caliber players. Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg. Those are matchups that I expect Ed Oliver to have his share of wins and record his first sack of the season. So put me down for a sack for Ed Oliver. And as I've said all week, like, the Bills and their ability to win this game is 100% rooted in this defensive line, in particular Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver. They have got to dominate. And of course, that extends to the edge players. I think these interior guys are really critical. Number 2, let's go to another player that was quiet in week 1, Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid put him down for a receiving touchdown in this contest. You know, the Cardinals made a choice. There was a lot of attention paid to Dalton Kincaid, and he had a lot of gravity to him, like pulling a lot of coverage his way. And so it just wasn't the type of game that was ripe for him to be productive. And honestly, like I said, like, the best thing about the Cardinals defense was that spine. Good coverage linebackers and a good safety pair in Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker. And I'm not saying that Miami doesn't have better linebackers and, good safeties as well, especially a guy like Javon Holland. But I do think that Miami's going to play this game differently than Arizona did on defense. The Dolphins gave Jacksonville a ton of different looks in week 1, and I'm sure that'll be the case again against the Buffalo Bills. But the bottom line is, I don't think that's going to be a situation where Miami's going into this game thinking, you know what, our number one priority in pass defense is making sure that Dalton Kincaid, is the reason Josh Allen's productive. I think as this season moves on and as defenses make choices against the Bills, and the Bills continue to say, okay, if that's what you want to take away, we've got 7 other things that we can do, and we're fine doing that. As that continues to happen, teams are going to play the Bills more straight up, and that's going to open up so much for really anyone, and really for the Bills to go after the matchups they like. But I do think that Dalton Kincaid finds pay dirt in this one. And again, I don't think that the Dolphins have bad players in the middle of the field. I feel like they're going to pay less attention to Dalton Kincaid, and I think there'll be more opportunities to be productive. Put me down for a Dalton Kincaid touchdown. Number 3, put me down for Josh Allen recording 300 passing yards or more in this game. I think the Bills are going to have opportunities to find plays in the passing game. And one of my big thoughts in this game is that Miami's defense is talented. I think they have a lot of good players, but they have a lot of new players, and they have a new defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, not Rashad Weaver. I keep on calling that guy Rashad Weaver. I don't mean to, but it's Anthony Weaver. Anthony Weaver's, I thought he was a good hire, but it's still early, right? It's a quick turnaround against a Bills team that is pretty unique in its own right. And so they've got new starters on the D-line, linebacker, corner, safety, and I think the Bills will have some opportunities to stress that newness. And there's different things they can do. I think they should run some tempo. I think they should run misdirection, play action, tightly aligned bunch sets, different things to stress a new defense and their ability to communicate, adjust, and be tight on the fly. And so I think Josh is going to have some production. And I think maybe he'll be a little bit more reluctant to run with the hand injury, so I think he'll throw a little bit more. But also, I'm expecting there to be some points scored in this game. I think that for both teams, I think the concern for both teams is their defenses. I think Dolphins and Bills are going in this game thinking, boy, do we have the right stuff on defense to figure this one out? So I'm expecting a good amount of passing yards in total. I'm expecting points. But I do think Josh Allen tops 300 passing yards. Number 4, this one's pretty straight up, but it's more of an emphasis. I know this isn't a bold bet. I never brand these as bold bets, but I think this is a game where the winner of the turnover battle wins the game. All right, I think this is a huge game. As I think about, I think there's going to be scoring. I'm concerned about both defenses. Possessions always matter, but in a game like this, critical. And if you have possessions where it's not ending in a kick, I think that's going to be a problem for you. You got to value the ball in this game. You got to make plays, but you got to value the ball. And so whoever wins the turnover battle wins the game, and that's usually true. But sometimes I think this matters more. And this is one of those opportunities. The last thing I'm going to predict for you is the outcome of the game. And I'll be honest with you, I've wrestled with this so hard. This is one of the more difficult Bills games for me to land on exactly how I feel it's going to go, because I think there's a pretty clear script for both sides. There's a lot of people. I mean, I've listened to a lot of people I respect say, look, the Bills have the Dolphins number, and until that's different, you got to predict the Bills to win. And I get that. I think the Bills are going to have a great opportunity to win this football game. When I think about this game, though, I find more advantages for Miami. I do. It's a short week, right? It's on the road. Divisional game. That's hard. That's a major advantage, Miami. Short week, on the road, divisional game. No, it's not played at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and the sun's going to be beaming down on the Bills sideline, but there is going to be a level of humidity in the air that's going to challenge the Bills players in ways that they've not been challenged in terms of hydration and conditioning. That favors Miami. All of that. I think the magnitude of this game, I mean, it matters for both teams. Don't get me wrong. This is a bigger game for the Dolphins than it is the Bills. I'm concerned about Josh Allen and adjusting to playing in this game with his hand situation. He's going to tell you it's fine. Sean McDermott said he's cleared. That doesn't mean there's not anything wrong with his hand. I'm concerned about the hand. He's going to play. I'm not worried that he's not going to play, but there's an adjustment here, and it's an adjustment in a very quick turnaround, as quick of a turnaround as you can have in the NFL. I think the Bills' back seven on defense against this Miami offense is trouble. I mean, new pieces all over that back seven, inexperienced players all over that back seven. And this is a Dolphins offense that forces you to play fast and get to your spots and squeeze routes and cut off routes. Can the Bills play with the type of timing on with their coverage to really be effective in limiting this offense? I have a lot of concern about that. And you saw that happen against Arizona, particularly early in that game where Arizona was able to just run their offense, and the Bills were very tardy with some of the responses, had to kind of lean into some pressure looks. Now, what I like about playing Miami is that their offense is based on in-structure plays. And where Kyler made it difficult on the Bills at times was he can extend plays, and when you extend plays, you stress the coverage, and there becomes space. Miami finds their explosive plays in structure. And so I think that helps and hurts at the same time, because you still got to play fast no matter what. But a big test for a guy like Dorian Williams, a big test for a guy like Cam Lewis, big test for a guy like Damar Hamlin, a big test for a guy like Taylor Rapp. What do we know about those players in a moment like this? I'm concerned about that. I do think that the Bills will have their opportunities offensively. And that's why I think turnovers are going to matter a ton in this game. But I just feel like there's more that I look at in this game and feel like, yeah, that's advantage Miami. Now, I think it's helpful that Raheem Mostert's not going to play. And we'll see what happens with Devon Achane. I think he's more important than Mostert to me, because not only is Achane an explosive threat in the run game, he's become the third option in their passing game. He's playing a lot in the slot. And I don't think Braxton Berrios is the guy that's going to make the Bills pay for having Cam Lewis out there and not Taron Johnson. But Devon Achane might be. And so I feel like I don't know the severity of the ankle. So if he plays, how limited is he? I don't know. But I think that his presence matters a ton for that overall operation. Now, I mean, we didn't even talk about Jaylen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and all the problems that they present. So I don't love the outlook for the Bills here. I don't. So I guess I'm telling you that because I see more that favors Miami in this contest, I'm going to predict Miami to win the game. It doesn't mean I don't want the Bills to win. It doesn't mean that there's not a clear path for the Bills to win, but I think the deck's stacked a little bit against the Bills in this game. Can they meet the moment? Absolutely. But just trying to be logically and take the heart out of it, there's just more that favors Miami in a game like this. And so for those reasons, I'm predicting Miami, but nothing would make me happier than being wrong. Nothing would make me happier than coming back on our next episode and saying, well, I don't say it unless I can say it, but we need a victory Friday. We need our first Victory Friday of the year for our next episode. And look, people get mad when I don't predict the Bills to win a game. Whatever you got to say. If you got to use your keyboard muscles and yell at me in the YouTube comments, okay. My job's not to sit here and hype you up. My job's here to be honest and analyze and break down a football game and tell you how I feel. And I hope I'm wrong. I think there's a good chance that I am wrong. But I'm trying to find reasons. And I find more reasons to believe that Miami's going to win than I do the Bills. But go Bills. Go Bills. All right, folks, the Hayes in the barn. Hope you enjoyed our pre-game coverage, and I hope that you'll come back for all of our post-game coverage. We'll stay up late tonight. We'll make sure you get the reaction podcast, all 22 review, plenty of content coming in the Substack where I'm writing articles. You can check that out, link in today's show notes. So be part of all the pre and post-game coverage all season long here on Locked On Bills. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again after the game.